How do you assess our state of democracy in Britain right now?
Well, I know we're going to talk about this in a bit more depth, but this cancelling elections is absolutely outrageous. Now, Nigel, you and I, actually, we do see eye to eye on quite a lot of things, surprisingly, but this is one where I think the Liberal Democrats, Reform and most people, and probably the Greens, are absolutely appalled. I don't think it's a cock-up, I think it's a conspiracy, but it is so shambolic and it is wrong. And just before we came on air, there's over 100,000 signatures now on a petition to get this debated in the House of Commons after the Christmas recess.
No. Adam, how do you see the state of the country?
I don't think I've ever been so depressed about the country ever in my lifetime. I've always voted Conservative. I was brought up to want to aspire. My dad was a publican. I always wanted to be a publican myself, earn my own money, have kids, do well and aspire to do better in life. And it seems like now we have a government that just wants to rip that away from you. The last two budgets have hurt my industry terribly, hospitality. The budgets have cost me both together about $35,000 a year in extra costs. That is just not supporting small business, that is decimating small businesses. And the Great British Pub, look, everyone likes a pub, and they won't be about in a few years if this government carries on going. I mean, I think 200,000 jobs have been lost in hospitality or out there since the two budgets. Something's got to be done. And with these local elections being cancelled as well, or postponed, there are some people that haven't had a democratic vote for 6 years. Nigel, that for me is the Uni-Party signalling that they are petrified of you and reform. And that is not democratic, that's a dictatorship.
Well, I think we're all in very common agreement on this, and I think the way that this government treats democracy and free speech, frankly, they treat it with contempt. We've seen the growth of two-tier Britain in terms of the way we police things, in terms of the sentences that people get, and I'm absolutely with you. I think the country's in a very, very bad place. But you know what? The history of this country is, whenever it gets itself into a bad place, often just in the nick of time, it gets itself out. Last week, a Cabinet Minister, Steve Reid, assured the House of Commons that the local and county elections this year would go ahead. And yet this morning he sent Alison McGovern, a far more junior minister, to say this in the House of Commons this morning.
Many councils across the country and of all stripes have expressed anxiety about their capacity to deliver a smooth and safe transition to new councils alongside running resource-intensive elections to councils proposed to be shortly abolished. They have expressed concerns about the time and energy spent managing elections to bodies that won't shortly exist, only to run an election a year later. We've also heard from councils querying the value for taxpayers of spending tens of millions running elections to bodies that won't exist, as I said, for much longer. Councils are telling us that where capacity is a problem, postponement would free up resources to be concentrated on local government reorganisation and the delivery of good services. To be clear, should a council say that they have no reason to delay their elections, there will be no delay. If a council voices genuine concerns, we will take these issues seriously and would be minded to grant a delay in those areas.
Let me put that in English so that you can actually understand what she was saying. Basically, the Labour government have said to 63 county councils and local authorities, if you don't want the elections to go ahead, darlings, just tell us and we'll cancel them. Up to 8 million people could be denied the vote. Now, this is all being done under the guise of local government reorganisation. But just think about here in Essex. Last year, the county council elections in Essex did not happen. This year, if the Conservative leader, Mr Bentley, of Essex County Council, decides he'd like another year in his job, untested by the electorate, he can cancel those elections and the government would accept it. Oh, and by the way, you were promised there'd be a mayoral election for Greater Essex, and that's been cancelled as well. Well, I think the audience here ought to send Mr Bentley, the Conservative head of Essex County Council, a message. I think those elections should go ahead. I think it would be shameful if you, supported by your leader Kemi Badenoch, did not force those elections to go ahead. Do you agree, everybody? And Joe, I've been talking to Bob Russell, former Lib Dem MP for Colchester. He and I are completely at one on this. The fact there's reorganisation going on, but only banana republics cancel elections.
It beggars belief, Nigel, apart from the fact that, we couldn't understand a word that Alison McGovern was saying to the three people that were in the House of Commons. It is an absolute outrage. It's disgusting. The government have managed to look so incompetent in such a short space of time that it actually beggars belief. But this is an attack on fundamental democracy. And, people may disagree. I actually think voting should be compulsory. But I do think, we need to take democracy seriously. And if you take it away from people, what are we doing? They knew they wanted to change and reorganise local government, which are, and there are many good reasons for doing that. And we can see very well that mayoralties actually do work extremely well. Andy Street did a brilliant job in the West Midlands. Andy Burnham's doing a great job in Manchester.
Arguably Ben Houchin.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are good because they've got the money that they can use. So, like Adam was talking about his son, they can use it for the jobs that are available in their area. So there's lots of good things about devolution and lots of good things. But this is appalling. And the thing is, they've had all this time to think about it. If they're now going, oh, actually, this doesn't quite work because the councils are saying, well, why didn't you ask the councils in the first place?
And it was the last statement before the Christmas break to an empty House of Commons.
Yeah, it's appalling.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GBNews discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GBnews to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Look, I go out and about, I speak to people in my pub, and everyone is so disillusioned with everything. So to deny them a vote, to actually have a say, is unforgivable. And again, as you say, if he wants another year in a nice perky job, comfortable job, he can take that. And that's not right at all. And again, it's the Uni-Party. They are terrified of reform.
Oh, I know they
the
are.
mayor elections, I think you would have won every single one. Is that right?
I think the ones they cancelled, yes, they do.
Yeah.
Genuine. And certainly the polling says that as well.
Yeah. So look, the people out there just want a voice. Yeah. That's all they want, a voice. At a time when we're not being listened to, we're being dictated to. A government and our authorities are meant to represent us, not dictate how we have to behave or not control us.
It is appalling, appalling. Now, the other big story of the year, Epping, the Bell Hotel in Epping became not just an Essex story, but a massive national story in the middle of this summer with outrage. And actually, since that sexual assault on a 14-year-old, we've seen even more serious cases occurring around the country from young men, predominantly from Afghanistan, who've come into the country. You were involved in that directly.
Look, a lot of people have lost trust in the media, the mainstream media, and that's why so many people are flocking to GBNews to be heard and to see maybe two sides of the story. I'd like to call myself possibly a citizen journalist. You know, I've got my phone, got my information. I turned up at the Bell Hotel. I knew what had happened. And I spoke to witnesses to what had happened in that sexual assault. And I put my head above the parapet and I reported outside the Bell Hotel what had gone on, because I've got 2 daughters myself, and they need to be safe locally. I live near the Bell. So at the end of the day, my videos, I think, shocked a lot of people to what had happened, and they were seen by tens of millions of people. Now, I'm proud that I've put that out there and it's just snowballed. Even Elon Musk out there has spoke about Epping. The world has seen what has gone on.
It was a massive story, wasn't it, Joe?
Yes, it was a huge story. I mean, I would push back, with all due respect, Adam, on citizen journalism, because...
If it's done right, it's effective.
Being done right is getting both sides of the story and getting the facts right.
Well, I put the facts out there.
Well,
so.
yeah, but, you know, I do think that journalism has an important place. And a citizen journalist, in many instances, does not know. I'm not saying that you didn't, but I just think, you know, anyone can say, I'm a citizen journalist. I think Mr. Yaxley Lennon likes to call himself a journalist.
Well, I mean, what you're saying, Joe, is there are things that put on
yes,
the
exactly,
through by
absolutely,
some people.
yes, exactly.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that at all.
Someone with a big platform, I'm very lucky to have a lot of followers on social media.
You are, but equally,
yes.
Equally, there's a duty on you to be responsible.
Exactly.
And I was responsible, so all I put was facts out there about Epping. And it hit home so much, because people have got granddaughters, people have got daughters, and we can't have unchecked, unverified foreign men just lurking around, harassing, intimidating and sexually assaulting our young girls.
I'm afraid.
Okay? And Nigel, well, we're not going to put up with it. I'm a father. So before any reporting, before anything that I do in the media, I'm a father. I've protested there nearly every week. I've missed 3 protests out of about 30 odd. And I'm there in the cold and the rain with some great people from Epping. And we're there because we do not want unchecked, unverified men in our community. 300 metres from a school where my 2 nieces go as well.
And the problem is getting worse. Another 500 came in. In fact, 1,300 this week have come in. And, Joe, you know, there's no getting around it. That men from Afghanistan are over 20 times more likely to be convicted. They shouldn't be walking the streets.
No, they shouldn't, and we should have much stricter controls on them, and we need to deport them as soon as we discover that. We know that some of them are coming.
Well, we have to leave ECHR to do this, though.
Well, no, we don't. Actually. We absolutely don't have to. Do it. I mean, there are absolutely reasons, perfectly good reasons, for people to feel uncomfortable and unsafe, women and girls. Sorry?
Yeah. No. There are lots of good reasons.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, that's...
But I mean, the Germans are now sending planes back to Afghanistan.
Yes, exactly.
It's about time Keir Starmer and the Labour government.
Yes, well, and I think that there is something fundamentally wrong when you've got today that the government has announced its 3 times delayed policy on violence against women and girls is actually not addressing this, which is a real issue. And I think, you know, that is, in a way, it's a microcosm.
Government.
Well, not always. You can't say that every single person.
Not every
government launches, as you say, the big new, we're going to protect women and girls, and doesn't even mention this problem.
No.
It's incredible. Well, it was a big story. Epping was absolutely, it was at the centre of all of it this year, and I think we'd expect more of the same, and I suspect that the public levels of tolerance on this issue are pretty much at breaking point. Right. Quick segment of Barrage to Farage. People who put questions in, they've been picked out by GBNews. I have no idea what Michael, who's first up, is going to ask. Literally no idea. So, can we get the microphone to Michael, please? Hello.
Evening, Nigel.
Good evening.
Welcome to the land of the East Saxons. I'm Mike from Billericay. And I've got a question. I mean, Christmas, you'll agree with me, is a wonderful time.
Yeah, go on.
And everyone's happy and relaxed and tries to be kind to everyone. But I would like to know, if we're kind to everyone, what gifts would you get for Ed Davey, Ed Miliband and Zach?
I think
I've not included Mr. Millerman in that. I've not included, Mr. Starmer in that, because he gets paying loads of freebies.
I'd get Ed Miliband a diesel generator because when the wind farms don't work, we've got to produce energy. Any ideas, guys, on presents for the government?
Ed Miliband, I don't know, maybe a guide to how to eat a bacon sandwich and just
That would
remind
help.
people
That would help.
how
That
bad
would
he
help.
was, yes.
I think I'd give Ed Miliband a muzzle so he doesn't do them silly videos with treat us all like 5-year-olds.
Ed Davey, I think, another play area, but it worked. Worked in the elections, got him
And that's for
covered.
Zach Polanski, back to school, I think, to learn some basic facts. Thank you very much indeed, Mike. Next up is Tara. Tara.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hiya. So you did a bit of reflection earlier on in the beginning of the show. So whether it be reflecting back on the past year or looking forward ahead to the new year, what is the one thing that you're most grateful for?
I think the thing I'm most grateful for is that I've still got a sense of humour. After the endless attacks that come upon me, I have to sit through PMQs, just being attacked the whole time by the PM. So yesterday, in fact, I just sat in the gallery. I thought,
You had more fun in the press gallery.
Yeah, I did.
didn't you?
I did. I thought if I'm a spectator, I might as well be one. Look, I'm grateful for lots of things, and I think, Adam is right. 74% of people say Britain is broken. They're very, very upset, scared about the direction the country's going in, don't recognise it in many ways. But as I say, I think despite that anger that builds up in people, I think all of us should perhaps just reflect over Christmas that our lives are a damn sight better than many billions of others around the rest of the world. All right? I think we can do that. OK, moving on to Faye. It's our third and final question of this segment, and we're going over here. Faye.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I want to know, will you still do your GBNews show when you're Prime Minister?
It's a very good question. Now, normally these questions come from people totally at random, but Faye has been with GBNews since day one. One of our producers. She actually produced over 30 of these Farage at Larges all around the country. She's brilliant, but she left the firm yesterday to go and set up her own business, and we wish her well, and we thank her for everything she's done. I suspect if and when I become Prime Minister, the rules might just forbid it. But I'll go on doing GB News as long as I possibly can. I've loved it over these 4 years, and working with people like you has made it extra, extra special. Thank you.
Thank you.